How's it going, everybody? My name is Quinn Sandler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Plantiga. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our company and what we do. At our core, we partner with athletes and teams to reduce the amount of time that they lose with injury. We do that with a little sensor that we've developed, which you embed inside insoles or shoes, and we measure the biomechanics and performance of athletes on the court, on ice, on field. So I'm going to get a little technical here for a second, but I want to describe the blind spot. So in the world of human performance, there are a ton of tools to measure how athletes move. They can put them in labs, in gyms. When it comes to the court or to the field, it is extremely difficult to know how an athlete moves. And that's where we come in. So by putting these sensors inside the insoles, inside the shoes, or custom orthotics, we measure every step they take. Every practice, every gym session, every lift, every time on the field, we're tracking how they run, walk, change direction. I'm going to go through, we just went through the NBA Launchpad through the beginning, first half of the season. So we rolled out our system with 6 WNBA teams, including the Fever, just in town. What was interesting is we are moving beyond just tracking individual athletes to full teams. And the reason why that's a big deal is because in professional sport, if an athlete is out, it can cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars a game. So they are heavily invested in making sure their athletes are available to play. I'm going to actually roll through some findings. So we're going to get into data here for a second, but this is the first of its kind data where we showed how much load, so what the forces through the body were of athletes. And what we did, so I'm going to walk you through this. In NBA players, they produce about 164,000 Gs, which is how much load is on their body. For professional WNBA players, it's about 141,000. For varsity, so NCAA players, it's about 129,000. Youth, this was like U17, was 111,000. I'm going to point out here something. This is an injured WNBA player that was just cleared to go back to play, and they're only producing 19,000 Gs, which means think about what we're doing right now. We are clearing athletes to go back to play in full competition, and we wonder why injury rates are so high. So what we're starting to define here is the pathway in women's sports performance. One of the things that we did with the WNBA, which is really interesting, is we started to develop typical ranges. So if you think of human performance, every human being moves different from some other human. So if I compare myself to someone like me, it's not as valuable as comparing myself to myself. So we wrote software that after you use our system for 5 times, it builds a band of how you move. And then every time you use the system, it'll then flag if you're outside your band. So you use that to basically identify an injury before it happens. Another thing we did in that project with DW is we built speed bands to look at asymmetries in them. Now, if you think about it, most products have speed bands in there, but they're defined for men. And so we built customized speed bands to look at how the female moves in basketball and then how they move at different speeds. And so you could imagine that if you're healthy, it's going to be all greens. But often a player will be good in some aspects and then not good in others. So again, it identifies the deficit that they have in which you can train. One of the things that we found as well is we found that our player and team dashboards were driving the decisions that these practitioners were making. So think of like a strength coach or a physical therapist or an athletic trainer. Ultimately, we're improving the quality of decisions that these trainers make. We produce a load metric, which is what I was going through before. Oh, we're unplugged now. That's fine. We produce a, oh, there we go. We produced a load metric, which was and is being used to drive what they're going to do the very next day. Are they going to do a bunch of recovery? Are they going to focus more on the gym, on court, etc.? And then I'm just going to end with our value proposition. So often if you think of athletes, there is this difference between performance and healthcare. And I think they're two sides, like sports med and performance, they're two sides of the same coin. You have to be healthy in order to perform. So one of the main value props that we meet organizations with is advancing rehabs after injury. That's where looking at asymmetries and the biomechanics become very, very important. I would say we've probably done some of the biggest rehabs in ACLs or MCLs, Achilles, hamstrings across the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball. Another example is improving injury prevention. So if I know how an athlete moves, and I know that things start to look changed from how they normally look, that's the point where we can intervene and actually change the outcome. And then last is, because our system is so versatile, I should show it to you. I meant to do that off the top. That's the sensor. I did? Okay, awesome. We can collect data anywhere. And I think that's a big thing, because if you look at most systems that are out there, they require a huge amount of infrastructure. So we get the same quality as like $1 million human performance lab, but with these little tiny sensors in our in insoles. And that's us. Thank you very much.